Hey everyone, in this tutorial we're going to take a look at how you can create and edit your Cartoon Animator characters and scenes in raster image format by using Affinity Photo as an editing tool. To get started, make sure you download the exe format of Affinity Photo 2, as this is the version that is compatible with CTA. You'll also want to check out the CTA character creation landing page, where you'll find a variety of template models available for download in both vector and PSD formats, as well as a detailed wiki page that provides more detailed information about the production workflow for character design and key techniques to guide you through the process. Before getting started, ensure that you have Affinity Photo assigned in your preferences as your default image editor, after which you'll see the icon appear on your toolbar. When we click it, we have the option to create a new object, which creates a new blank canvas in Affinity, or Open File, which will load an existing PSD for further editing. I'll choose New Object for now, which will take us into Affinity Photo, where I can begin drawing the first prop of our scene using a simple circle tool and brushes for a stylized ball. Once you're finished, you'll need to export to CTA. However, since Affinity only saves to its default AF photo format, you'll need to use the export function and a little workaround. If you open the folder in Explorer, you'll find the temporary PSD file from CTA. Copy this file path and use it to overwrite the existing PSD. Once that's done, CTA will pop up with an option window where we'll choose Prop in this case. Next, I'll use the Open File option to open a previously created PSD scene. Just like before, we need to overwrite the original file when exporting. Only this time we're going to choose Scene when bringing it into CTA, as it contains multiple layers. In CTA, you'll see that all of the objects are displayed according to their layer groups in Affinity. You can see here that this drink case is a grouped object containing sublayers. These sublayers will be represented as sprites in CTA's sprite editor. Once we place our ball prop in the scene, you'll notice a sync icon in the sync column on the right in the Scene Manager, indicating that both the ball and scene are linked to Affinity. If you click on this icon next to our scene item, it will take you to Affinity, where you can draw to add other items like this stylized bird or some hanging flags. You can often integrate the style of your characters and props to conform more closely to the aesthetic of your scene by using effects like Inner Shadow, which softens the edge of our bird here. After adding an effect, ensure that you rasterize that layer in order to flatten it so it can be imported back into CTA. Again, overwrite your scene PSD file to update in CTA. Next, let's take a look at two different types of launch methods from CTA to Affinity. First, we have Group Launch, which allows you to send multi-layered objects to Affinity. If we launch this chair into Composer mode, you can see that it contains a separate foreground armrest element to simulate a character sitting inside the chair in a 2D environment. If we launch this into Affinity, you'll see the sublayers, which allow us to click and drag this new cat image and place it properly to simulate the cat resting inside the chair as opposed to floating in front of it. Once again, export the PSD and overwrite the file in the CTA temp folder that appeared when we launched it from CTA. It will then update once we go back into stage mode. The second launch method is for single images, which can be found in the Sprite editor. If we select this home prop and open up Composer mode, we can see that it's made up of a few different layers, representing the sprites of this object. If I enter into the Sprite editor, I can select a single sprite and launch it to Affinity. This allows me to edit this element individually. In this case, I'm just adding a couple of simple flowers. Since single sprites are exported as PNG files, be sure to merge all of the layers before exporting. Once again, find the temp file path from CTA, choose PNG as the export format, and overwrite the temp file from CTA. We can also use CTA's Smart Search to find additional content like this bear to enrich our scene further. Smart Search will peruse Reallusion's online marketplaces, and you can trial most content in your scene before you purchase. Check out the dedicated Smart Search tutorial for more. Once you've got everything in your scene, you can use the 3D View tool to view the position of your objects along the Z-axis. You can drag certain objects into the foreground to simulate a more 3D-like environment. This is particularly noticeable if you are moving your camera. In addition, in the camera options, you can change the focal length for a more wide-angle perspective. With a lower value here, the 3D effect will be much more pronounced, enhancing the feeling of depth in the scene. When you alter the scene's Z-depth and camera values, you may likely need to adjust the positioning of your scene elements to fit within the blue outline of your viewport, which represents the area that will be in your final render. Once the scene and camera are all set up, click on your recording camera in the camera editor and open the timeline. The transform track represents the movement of your camera, so if you go a few frames down and move your camera, it will add a keyframe to record that movement. You can right-click on that keyframe and open up Transition Curve options, which determine the progressive velocity of the camera between two keyframes. You can experiment with all of these presets to determine which one suits your need. In this case, I'll move the camera a few more times as we progress through the timeline and use the Gain Momentum and Damp preset, which gives us a more energetic, cartoon-like camera movement. And that's it. We can play back to see the results. That's it for this tutorial, guys. Be sure to check out our other tutorial for the vector-based SVG workflow in Affinity. I'll see you in the next one.